Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode. Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast listeners. We're here today with a beautiful friend of ours who we've actually been wanting to talk to for a while. And so we're excited to dive into a larger conversation. But let's first introduce you to the beautiful Megan Carnahan. Megan is a licensed therapist. She was in practice for over 12 years doing sort of straight talk therapy and realized something was missing. And so she began to turn to her earlier training in yoga meditation, Reiki, body work, somatic work, and now has expanded her clinical practice to also work with this new style of work using ketamine. And so we're going to dive into all the ins and outs of that because I think there's a lot of conversation right now in the world around this. There's a lot of interest. And Megan has done her work and has received the training to really guide us into understanding this modality in a deeper way. So welcome.
Yes,
Megan.
Welcome. So good to be here. Thank you.
Well, you know where we like to start, Megan. And I'm excited to hear this because I don't think I really know that part of your life. So tell us about your first 10 years and what was formidable? What were experiences that come to mind as the most maybe impactful or, kind of core memories for you?
Yeah. So I grew up in Des Moines and middle-class family, older sister. And, in the 80s, we didn't have these terms like deeply feeling kid or highly sensitive person. But I think now that I've learned about these things, looking back, I can see all the ways in which those sensitivities showed up, just like in terms of even the scratchy clothes and like brushing my hair. I'd be like, oh, this is so painful. It's like just even those physical sensitivities. And I can remember just having these like mysterious stomach aches. And, the school would just call my mom and be like, you need to come get her. She's got a stomach ache again. And they couldn't really figure out, I wasn't sick. It would be like, oh, just not feeling like my teacher likes me or just this real sensitivities that I think, can be pretty inconvenient to parents and teachers. And so then we learn to conform and we learn to sort of shut down some of those parts of ourselves. And I think it's a big part of why I was so drawn to yoga, just feeling back, waking up those parts again and feeling more attuned to all the sensitivities within the body and the mind and spirit. And
So this sensitive little young one who maybe wasn't fully understood by her parents or her culture, her teachers, having these stomach aches, guided you into studying yoga first. And then tell us how you decided upon, maybe I want to become a therapist.
Yeah. Well, there's this real core memory I have that I think is the first memory of little therapists being born. And they used to do this thing. I don't know if they still do it or if it was just a trial thing that they would have these conflict managers on the playground. And
I remember that.
Really?
Well, Kate, she was the lawyer on that.
No, I actually remember them with my own children.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't think we had the schoolhouse bullies on the playground dealing with all the problems.
Yeah.
But my kids, then I remember thinking that's so smart.
Here in Iowa City? Okay, cool. So I don't know how that program started or I don't hear about it now.
Okay, so what were you?
Yeah.
So it's called, you got to put on this like t-shirt and you were a conflict manager. And so if there were two kids that had a a fight or conflict, you would go into a room with a teacher and you'd kind of follow this script and be like, okay, what is your side? And what is your side? And what are the possible? And I was just like, this is so fun. And this is so interesting. And then be like, have to go back to class, but I want to do this. And so I just have this real vivid memory.
Remember any clear conflict that you helped mediate?
A lot with the tetherball, like getting hit in the face, right? A lot of tetherball conflict, which isn't a thing anymore.
We don't allow those anymore.
Too many bloody noses.
Right.
So I think that stands out. And then just in my friend groups, a lot of mediation.
People would turn to you.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it, right? I just enjoyed relationship dynamics. And I forget your original question. How did I
Just how you found your way into therapy.
Yeah. I think as you both know, it's a calling more than I think it was one particular event or, it really, I don't know if I can say it.
Yeah.
It's like, I knew I wanted to be in a helping profession, work with people. I knew that I was good at it. And so I just led me to social work. And then in one of your yoga classes, I met.
You've been a yoga student for a long time, maybe from the beginning
of the early days.
Yeah.
I met a woman and she was like, well, why don't you come do private practice?
And actually, do you know that I remember having a conversation with her and saying, yes, you need to connect with this young woman who is a therapist and looking for a place to practice. And,
amazing. Changed my life. I mean, And it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like, like meeting with people and
what you're meant to do for sure.
Yes.
And then you had a very similar experience to actually what I had, probably about your stage as well, in terms of feeling a little bit let down by just the tools of talking and feeling like, is this all there is? Is this all that's in my toolbox in terms of just talking with people? And so you started to really branch out, and in particular started to do trainings in terms of more psychedelic based work. So that's what we really want to dive into today, because it's a hot topic right now. Do you remember when that all opened up for you?
Yes. 2019, I heard of Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind. And I remember
a lot of people's minds, FYI.
That's how it started.
Mine too.
People.
Right, yeah.
I remember Ryan and I were driving to and from Chicago and we listened to the book. And, he's a researcher and we were both.
This is your husband,
Ryan, blown away by the research that was already done in the 70s, 80s on psychedelics and mental health. And I just remember him saying there's no antidepressant anywhere close to these percentages of improvement. I just didn't even know that psychedelics could be used for depression, anxiety, trauma, healing. And so it was just like, mind blowing.
So can you share with us, there was research done back then because it was being used?
Yes.
But then was it buried?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nixon.
Yes. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Shut down.
But the research kept happening even after the war on drugs started, and Nixon shut it down. And it got shut down, but it kept going. Yeah. People kept researching it underground. And then Michael Pollan's book really started to bring it back into, I would say, the cultural vernacular, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's so much happening.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you were introduced to it.
Yeah.
How many years ago?
Like 6 years ago. Yeah. In terms of how it's happening now.
Well, so you heard the book on tape. What did you do with that information? What did it open up for you?
Well, the next step was to go and do my own ketamine series with a woman in Des Moines. And I got a lot out of it. And then I decided to go and study ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. And then along with some other classes and just listening to talks about, I mean, I chose ketamine because it's legal. I could use it in my clinical practice, but I have been curious and learning along the way about other psychedelics. But ketamine is what's available.
Yeah.
Right.
And so can you tell us, is ketamine a psychedelic? It's not considered a psychedelic.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right. It serves like a psychedelic.
Okay.
But we use like very low dose. I really, so there's the psychedelic versus psycholytic, and psychedelic being kind of those bigger medicine experiences that people have, versus the psycholytic, which is more of like a therapeutic working dose.
Okay.
So it's like a deep therapy session.
So a psychedelic will go for 6-8 hours,
Yes.
whereas a psycholytic, as you're talking about, goes for how long?
1 to 3 hours.
So that works really well in the
Therapy.
therapeutic situation.
And for a lot of people in terms of schedule and financial restraints too,
Yeah.
you know.
And ketamine was, if I'm correct, please correct me if I'm wrong, was originally a medication that they used for children anesthesia. Am I correct? And they still
in the
do.
hospital.
So it's
Yeah.
part of an anesthesia drug. And then
Yes.
how did they begin to make sense that it could be used in a psychotherapeutic context or help people with depression and anxiety and PTSD? Do you know that?
That's a really good question.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah. I mean, how they originally discovered that, I'm not sure, but I mean, they have done a lot of research on especially depression, and now more with lots of other mental health challenges. But with depression, it's been found to just really open up new pathways in the brain and create, you know, there's new just windows of possibility within.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they used it as an anesthesia because it probably reduced anxiety.
Yes. And even memory. So if a kid comes into the ER with a big trauma, they will often get ketamine to help like lessen the memory of that trauma and the surgery that they're about to have.
So how, if lessening memory, when it's used in a therapeutic situation, aren't you bringing memories forward?
Yeah, but we're using such low doses. So I use with people between 100 and 400 milligrams per session, but we always start at the lower end of that. And I couldn't tell you, but I know that in the exact amounts that they use in the hospital setting, but it's way higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd like to start with before you even went through all the training and now you're clearly leading sessions with people using ketamine, you had your own experience. So you went and had your own personal experience. What happened? What did you experience? What came forward? What was that like?
Ooh, well, what to share here? I think it felt like there was just some it opened up new doorways, new insights on different things in life or as I was going through that, some relationships changed, some friendships that were really in unhealthy dynamics that needed to end did during that season of using ketamine for growth. And, you know, I came at it I wasn't looking to there's this one trauma, or I was like, I'm really curious about this medicine and really trusted that it would open up whatever it needed to open up. So, whereas a lot of times people do come with a specific thing that they're working on, mine was kind of more, I'm on this spiritual path and I want it to see if it can help me go deeper. So I think
did it?
Yeah, I think ultimately it really just helped with heart opening and feeling like I could just step into more authentic version of myself and feel my feelings more deeply and be more present and kind of just mature, emotionally, spiritually mature. So that's what I needed at that time, you know.
I was just going to say, the fact that you went through that process with someone for a period of months, it sounds like.
Yeah. Over 9 months.
Yeah. I think it probably increases the credibility that you have too. And having had the experience and knowing,
Mm-hmm.
so often I think of, psychiatrists or doctors just giving medications that they've never experienced. And,
Yes.
and they're not able to really have the credibility to say, this is what you can expect. Right. I don't know. There's something about the fact that you went that deep with yourself.
Yes.
That I think probably makes you an even better therapist in that setting.
Yeah. I like to think so, that our own work is really our best credential we can have,
I agree.
Yeah.
And then, you take this ketamine. How does it change what you're feeling like? I mean, you're taking in a substance that alters you.
Yeah.
Can you describe what it feels like?
Yeah. Well, it feels really, it's been talked about like having feminine qualities, very soft, very gentle, very heart opening. It's like your typical defenses sort of soften back, and you're able to just show up with any pain with more receptivity and openness. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. But it can feel floaty. It can also feel heavy. It can feel sometimes, I mean, it's such a range. Like, I have never seen colors and shapes with it, but I've had quite a few people who have. And at first I was like, well, what do you do with that? And then I was in a consultation group and asked that question, and they were saying, well, ask them what they feel like. And it was showing up quite a bit with people who were working on depression, and it felt the opposite of depression. So that is significant. So it's not all just insights and thought patterns, but it's like you feel, so all you're seeing is purple. And how do you feel? I feel really good. I feel really safe. Okay, let's imprint that. Let's remember what that feels like, because that's the antidote to the depressed baseline. So it can show, I mean, that's just one example of how it can look so different for everybody.
But a person takes the medicine and then you're literally doing talk therapy with them while they're experiencing these shapes or these colors or these sensations, and you're helping them make sense of it. And they remember it. It's not like memory goes away.
I would say everyone knows they're there in their office, but they don't remember the whole, because they're usually kind of under for like an hour. And so I take notes. Almost everything that they say, I'll have them bring a notebook and write down so that they have reference. They will come out of it and be like, I don't remember, but not because they were somewhere else, but just like it's a little bit of a dissociative state, but they feel grounded in the space. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I can say, and we've both been to her office. You have this beautiful office.
Oh, thank you.
I remember the chairs and like blankets and like, so you kind of create this, it felt almost like a little cocoon in there too.
That's perfect. That's what I'm going for.
So even the environment that you're doing therapy in feels kind of unique.
Yeah. Yes. I moved from downtown out to Coralville because I needed really quiet space. And it's very quiet.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when the heyday of ketamine sort of took off, would we say 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago?
I would say so.
I remember that ketamine clinics started just popping up.
Yeah.
And they were typically run by anesthesiologists or nurse practitioners. Yeah. But they would just give people ketamine, put them in a room, tie them up to an IV, and then leave. And I know I had some clients that went through it and had really hard experiences because they didn't have anyone with them processing.
Yes.
Has that changed? Like, do you feel like the model of more psychotherapeutic led ketamine journeys is more the norm, or are there still situations where people just go take the medicine and are navigating it alone?
That has not changed. And there are.
And what do you think of that? Yeah. I mean, I have my opinions, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I think they're a lot of times they're run by nurse practitioners, and they are going off the research that if you get ketamine in your brain 6 to 8 times, it will help open up new pathways. It works on the glutamate receptors. Don't ask me any more about it than that. But and so it's not that they're intentionally, I don't think they're not always doing any harm, but are people getting better? And sometimes those people will be on that protocol. And I've been in ketamine consultation groups where we're like, who's checking on these treatment plans? And, some people that like, I have a client who is just doing that for years without it. And I've talked to people I've been like, well, did you talk to anyone about your experience? Because they're alone in the room. And many haven't. And many, unless you're someone who's really insightful and really connected to support, I know many people have not gotten anything out of it, but I know there are some that do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's happening.
Yeah.
And so you want to be mindful. There's all sorts of options. I know people who have also gone to the clinics, gotten the ketamine, and then they'll go see their therapist after and do integration like the day of or the next day. I think that's a way better model.
Yeah.
Because insurance will cover them.
Because it's possible that challenging hard material could come up when you're using ketamine. And then if you're alone in a room in a slightly altered state, not knowing, it could be potentially harmful. At least I saw some of that in people I was speaking to, and it concerned me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or you're kind of having a cool experience, but not getting anywhere.
It's not, you're not remembering it or integrating it into how you're living your life.
You don't have 3 pages of notes of things that, insights or revelations or connected dots that happen. So,
right. What is the ideal patient for this? Like, is there an age that's too young? Is it good for people with a lot of past trauma, or, where do you see the kind of the greatest benefit, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, I think it's great for people that have already done some introspective work, whether that's talk therapy, a meditation practice, some kind of self-exploration. I think if you just have not done anything like that and you sit down, you take some ketamine, I don't know. I think it's just more ideal for people that are already doing some work or have some self-awareness. But no, trauma, it's great for trauma. I don't think there's any harm there. Yeah.
And what about age? Like,
I don't work with children anymore. I don't know that there's much happening with ketamine in children in the therapeutic sense. But I think, any age above 18, as far as I feel comfortable with.
In your opinion, do you think that the addition of ketamine to psychotherapy hastens the process? It quickens things? It takes people deeper? Why are you such a believer in adding it on to generalized talk therapy?
Yeah, I think it definitely just gets to the root of what people are looking to get at. But the reason I love it so much is because it just brings people back to their own inner healing, intuitive intelligence. Like, they know what they need. And when we just give them the time, the space, a little bit of help with the medicine, they get there. And we, as talk therapists, it's that tendency for a client to come and tell me what I should do.
Right.
You're the expert. How do I treat my anxiety? Well, there's 100 different tools I could give you, but you have the answers in there. And we just got to make the space, the environment to get to that,
Right. I love that.
What surprised you the most about your work?
I think that it's like, I feel that I'm at just such, I've landed in terms of everything I've studied in my own personal work, in terms of this is the best use of my skills and my ability to hold space and maybe ask the right question at the right time, or to stay silent and not ask a question at a certain time, that I just feel very intuitively drawn to that healing. So it's such sacred work. And so, I think people just feel empowered when they have the insights. A good therapist is going to ask you the right question that's going to help you go, oh, it's so much more powerful when we see it ourselves
versus being told by someone.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it helps to do that, I think. And that helps people just feel more confident and empowered to take it from there.
Yeah. How many sessions in general do people do with this type of work?
Yeah, I think 6 to 8 is a good ballpark but I don't force that, and I've done less, and I've had people get a lot out of 3 or 4. But it's a little unfolding, and people are often nervous the first time and finding the right dose. So it's like if you can give yourself the gift of that 6 to 8 window, I think people get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, there was in the news in the last couple of years, the death of Matthew Perry, who had been prescribed ketamine, and clearly was using it not in a clinical setting. He was in a hot tub, but he died.
Yes.
And so how has that impacted people's perception of ketamine? And do we have to worry about it as an addictive substance?
Yeah, I think, yes. We always need to be mindful with it being misused. I've had people in recovery who have gotten 1 or 2 troches at a time from the pharmacy, and they're happy to.
So they're in recovery from alcohol or drug abuse, and they want to use it.
Yes,
but
very intentionally.
Okay.
And so there's ways to work with that. There are some organizations that Matthew Perry's death not being the only person who has died from some organizations where they will ship a ton of ketamine to people's house and collect, a couple $1,000s, and then that can get or not be monitored. People can take too much. And there was a young man who his blood pressure had not been monitored, and he was taking ketamine at home through one of these companies, and he died as well. And so there's always risks. Yeah.
And is it an addictive substance? I know some of the psychedelics are not considered addictive.
It's
but
not
ketamine,
considered, but more the state. Like people
want to get into that state where there's more softness and ease.
Yes.
Relaxation. Yeah. Okay.
It feels so important for the times we're living in.
Yeah.
That it be continued to be researched and used in a therapeutic setting and understood with the numbers of people with anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And just our culture that feels like, especially for young people, that they are reaching kind of this peak anxiety at such a young age with the pace of everything. And what do you see the future of this being? And in your groups that you talk with, it feels like a promising, alternative to maybe medications that people take for their whole lives.
Right. Good question. Yeah, I think so. There's some new research happening with couples work, which I find really interesting, like really low dose ketamine and then having like a 2-hour couples therapy session where people can really just slow it down. I think for young people, they're going to be more interested, more open-minded to some of these alternative modes of healing and the power of group work too. There was a colleague and I did a workshop for some other therapists to come and try it and to learn from one another. And it's just so powerful to like have that group experience and then to feed off of one another and to hear other people's experiences just kind of expands one's own,
Yeah.
So
is there someone who this wouldn't be good for? Like when you do an initial intake, are there specific things that you would say, oh, you're not a good candidate?
So surprisingly, it's really quite safe. Or not surprisingly, but it's like in terms of a lot of different medications. So uncontrolled high blood pressure is one. So what happens if someone comes and meets with me? We'll talk about their goals, their past history with therapy, what they're looking for, and then they'll meet with a nurse practitioner and they will kind of rule out some of the medical side of it. But the main thing is uncontrolled high blood pressure, or if there's like a family history of bipolar or some with any kind of psychedelic, it could bring out some manic if it's buried in there, maybe. So it's something we want to watch for too. But for the most part, pretty much most people will qualify and pass. Yeah.
So if someone wants to come work with you, I mean, we're going to put all of your contact information in our, but like lay out what they can expect, right? Like what's the pathway look like?
Yeah. So we usually have a couple of intake sessions where we kind of just get to know each other. Like I said, talk about history and where they're coming from, why they want to do this, why now, what do they know about ketamine, really setting the stage for expectations. There's been a lot of times where people have been like, I want this to be the thing and
it's the magic.
Yeah. And it might be, but there's not usually a magic bullet, it's usually, it's not just what happens on that day, but what do you do with what happened on that day? Right. What do you do with that? So then a few intakes. So then they'll meet with a nurse practitioner, get their ketamine prescription, and then the Town Crest Pharmacy will ship it to their house. They get a little bottle and and they're like little lozenges that go under the tongue, and they'll bring that into session, and we have it all, we've talked about the day of and prep. And yeah, if they want to draw a card, if they want to, we spend some time, 30, 45 minutes that day of, just again, I have them write their intentions, bring a notebook and draw a card, get grounded, check their blood pressure, something I'll do in office just to make sure that it's at a good place. And then they'll take their medicine and go to the recliner, lay back, eye shades on if they want. They don't have to, but people find it kind of helps them go in to themselves and do a little meditation, play some music. So it's like a mini psychedelic trip, but we're talking the whole time. We're working the whole, obviously there are pockets of time where it's silent, but I'm reading their intentions to them. I'm asking questions. We're looking at what's coming up and where to go. And then we spend time after for as long as we need to talk about what came up.
How long does it take for the medicine to wear off? Like if they take it in session, how long are they in that altered state?
Yeah. Really common to be about an hour.
About an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see
short acting.
Yeah. People start to just like, oh, I think it's off. And just like, okay, go slow, come back, see what else is there. But yeah, about an hour.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a large community doing this work that you're connected in with? Is it?
I'm in a consultation group with 2 women in Des Moines. I guess Rebecca does too, my office mate. And then there's a woman, a psychiatrist, or I think she's an MD in Cedar Rapids, and she does at home. So people do nasal ketamine at home and then hop on a call with her after. So there's not many of us. There's a handful that I know of.
You feel like a pioneer.
Yeah. But across the country, would you say there's more people being interested in
other
this?
states?
Yeah. In some states, psychedelics have become legalized. So things are changing in the landscape of mental health for sure.
Yeah. Very common in Oregon and Colorado, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Well, it definitely feels like this is the direction that research and sort of interest is going. It's a new avenue, and I've felt for many years that mental health needed something different besides just talk therapy and psychotropic medications. So it is exciting to see how this is evolving, and exciting to see you taking such a leadership role in all of this. Is there anything else you can think of that you would want listeners or just sort of people out there to understand about this form of therapy or treatment?
I think just if you've been doing this same thing over and over and it's not working, don't be too afraid to try something different and find just somewhere that you feel really safe and held and comfortable. you just feel that one out,
Yeah.
you know?
And I will say that I have done ketamine in a therapeutic situation, and it is very soft. It is a very deep, relaxing experience, and does help you access maybe some parts of self that you might not otherwise have access to. So, yeah.
It makes me very curious about doing it. I do think in the beginning when you started, and I know this from you, Betsy, is so often talk therapy keeps us from the neck up.
Yeah.
And we're not embodied.
Right.
This feels like another modality to really help people be in their bodies.
For sure. And it's fascinating how even just, I mean, and you guys know this, if we ask someone to close your eyes and go, okay, what do you notice in the body? Oh, tension in my throat, and then, okay, stay with it. And then it goes to a memory from childhood. I mean, it's like just the very act of going into your body and tuning in is like open so much more. And so I think this is along those pathways too.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a fun conversation and enlightening. I feel like very enlightening for people.
And I think a lot of people, are going to check out what you're doing. And I think it's especially if you've tried other forms of therapy and have felt like you're not really making progress. I think this is another route to explore for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Come a long way from your conflict manager days.
Yeah.
But that was certainly foundational for you of knowing that you want to help people find some peace and just thinking about way back when that feeling of I'd rather do this than school.
All day.
Just let me talk to people.
Yeah.
All right. So as we are wrapping up today's conversation about ketamine, we're going to take just a slight little detour because we always have to end with, this idea of being a wild woman. Clearly, as I think about you and being in this very straight and narrow path of talk therapy, which I can so relate to, that sense of like, I have to bust out of this. There's something more. I have to figure this out. And that's definitely the mark of the wild woman and her desire to get free of sort of the binds. And so we know Megan is wild.
We do. We've seen her dance.
Seen her on the dance floor.
Yes.
We want to know about which door you took into your life as a wild woman.
Yes. So if you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you have an old story, that is a door. If you love the sky and the water so much, you can almost not bear it. That is a door. And if you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, a sane life, that is a door. Is there one that speaks most to you?
I love them all.
Her moaning over here. She's like, they're all good.
I gotta go with number 4. I think it's a blessing and a curse, but like, how can I squeeze the most out of this life? And I felt like that with my work as well, of how can, I get the most out of and offer the most, and people coming, how can they get the most out of their time and energy? And I love the deep waters. So let's go.
Yeah. You are in the deep waters.
Life, a full life, a sane life.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.